Hey, you know how sometimes you hear about options trading and it sounds, well, just super complicated, like its own secret language?
Well, absolutely. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way. Like I'm on the outside looking in at something really interesting, but kind of baffling.
That feeling is incredibly common, believe me. Options can seem intimidating initially, but when you really break it down, it comes down to understanding one fundamental thing.
And what's that?
The options contract itself, that piece of paper, well, digital paper these days.
Okay.
And that's what we really want to clarify for you today, drawing on our experiences here at advancedautotrades.com and the chats we have.
Exactly. So our goal here is pretty simple, right? By the end of our discussion, you'll hopefully have a much clearer picture of what this basic agreement, this foundation of options trading actually is.
Yep. No finance degree needed.
Uh-huh. Definitely not. Just a straightforward understanding of the deal, the core agreement that makes it all work.
So let's get right to it then. What is this options contract we keep mentioning?
Well, fundamentally, based on everything we work with at Advanced AutoTrades, it's essentially a formal agreement.
A contract.
Right, between two parties.
Two parties, exactly. You've got a buyer and you've got a seller. And it's kind of like laying the groundwork for something that might happen in the future.
That's a good way to think about it. And the crucial part for you, the listener, to grasp is what this agreement gives to the buyer.
Okay.
The buyer gets a right. And this is really key. It is not an obligation, not a requirement.
Right, not an obligation. Got it.
A right to either buy or maybe sell a specific underlying asset. Usually we're talking about a stock.
Right, like shares in a company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this right is for a set price, a specific price, and it has to be used by a certain date or on that date.
And that flexibility for the buyer, that choice, that must be where the risk element comes in.
Precisely. There's a transfer of risk. The buyer is paying for that optionality, that choice.
They pay a premium for that, right? Correct. And the seller, well, the seller takes the other side. They receive that premium, and in return, they have the obligation to fulfill the contract if the buyer decides to exercise their right.
Okay, so the buyer has the choice, the seller has the potential obligation.
Got it. Now, within this world of options contracts, you're mainly going to hear about two types.
Calls and puts.
Calls and puts, those are the big two. Let's look at calls first.
Okay, calls. So a call option that gives the buyer the right, again, not the obligation to buy a stock.
Right.
At a specific price, which we call the strike price.
Strike price, yep. And this has to be done before or on a specific date, the expiration date.
Expiration date. Okay, by strike price, expiration date.
To make this really concrete, we often use an analogy, something you might actually encounter.
Ah, yes. The Arby's roast beef sandwich coupon. I love this one.
Yeah, it seems to click for people.
It really does. It takes something abstract and makes it, tangible. So imagine you have this coupon, right? It lets you buy an Arby's roast beef combo for, say, $3.99.
Okay, $3.99, that's your strike price in this analogy.
Exactly, the fixed price.
Yeah.
And the coupon says it's only good until, I don't know, the end of April 2009. That's a classic example date we use.
End of April 2009, there's your expiration date.
Perfect. So you walk into Arby's before the end of April, and you look up at the menu. And the regular price for that combo is, let's say, $5.
Okay, so the market price is higher than your coupon price. What do you do?
Well, that coupon is suddenly pretty valuable. I'd absolutely use it, slap it on the counter.
Right.
I'd exercise my options, so to speak, and get that combo for $3.99 instead of $5, saving a buck and change.
Exactly. And in the options world, that's like your call option being in the money. The stock's market price is above your strike price, so exercising the option to buy is beneficial.
Makes sense. But what about the flip side? What if I go into Arby's still before the deadline?
Okay.
And maybe they're running a special. The combo is only $2.99 today.
So the market price is lower than your $3.99 coupon price.
Yeah. Now that coupon, it's kind of useless, isn't it? Why would I pay $3.99 using the coupon when I can just buy it for $2.99 directly?
You wouldn't. You just let the coupon sit in your wallet. Maybe it expires unused.
Exactly. And that perfectly shows the no obligation part. I have the choice to use the $3.99 price, but I'm not forced to. If the market's better, I take the market price.
And that coupon just replaced roast beef combo with 100 shares of XYZ stock, and you've got the essence of a call option.
Great analogy. Really clears it up.
Good. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk about the other main type put options.
Okay, puts. So if calls are the right to buy, Puts must be the right to sell.
You got it. A put option gives the owner the right, again, always the right, never the obligation to sell a specific stock.
At a specific price.
Mm-hmm.
The strike price again.
Yep, same term, strike price, and by a specific time, the expiration date.
Okay, so same core components, just the action is selling instead of buying. Is there a coupon analogy for puts?
It's a bit harder to find a perfect everyday equivalent, like the coupon for puts. The core idea of having the choice is still there, though.
How so?
Well, imagine you own, say, 100 shares of a stock. You bought it at $50.
Okay.
And maybe you're a little worried the price might drop. So you could buy a put option that gives you the right to sell your shares at maybe $48.
Ah, like insurance.
Kind of, yeah. It can function like insurance. So if the stock price does indeed fall, maybe down to $40.
Then instead of selling at the low market price of $40,
You have the choice to exercise your put option and sell your shares for $48, your strike price.
even though the market is way lower.
Even though the market is way lower. You have the right, locked in, to sell at $48. But again, if the stock price went up to $60...
Then I wouldn't want to sell at $48. I'd just let the put option expire, like the useless coupon.
Precisely. You'd sell on the open market for $60, or just hold on to your appreciating stock. The put gave you the choice, the protection, but didn't force you into a bad sale.
Okay, that makes sense. Choice is really the operative word here.
It absolutely is.
So we've mentioned these key terms a few times: strike price, expiration date. Let's just quickly recap them to make sure it's all crystal clear for everyone listening.
Good idea. Let's nail down these components. First, the strike price.
That fixed price.
The fixed price. The price at which the underlying asset, the stock, can be bought with a call or sold with a put. It's set in the contract.
Okay. Then the expiration date.
The deadline. Simple as that. This is the last day the option contract is valid.
And after that, poof.
Poof is a good word. If it hasn't been exercised or sold to someone else by the close of trading on that day, it generally becomes worthless. Expired.
Got it. Deadline is crucial. And the last piece,
The underlying asset, what the option is actually about.
which in our examples and often in practice is usually a stock, right? Like 100 shares of a specific company.
Typically, yes. Options are usually based on 100 shares of the underlying stock, though they can exist for other things like indexes or futures too. But for beginners, thinking about stocks is the easiest way in.
Okay. Strike price, expiration date, underlying asset, the core ingredients. Now, something that seems really important to distinguish. Options aren't the same as just buying or selling stocks, are they?
No, definitely not. It's a critical distinction for you to understand. They are related, obviously, because the option's value depends on the stock's price.
Right.
But they are fundamentally different instruments.
How so? What's the main difference in practice?
Well, when you buy a share of stock, let's say you buy one share of Apple, you actually own a tiny piece of that company.
You have equity.
You have equity. You can hold it for as long as you want, years even. And you can sell it whenever you decide to, at whatever the market price is at that moment.
No fixed future price, no deadline limiting.
Exactly. But with an option, you don't initially own the stock itself. You own a contract that gives you the right related to that stock.
The right to potentially buy or sell it later.
Correct. And that right is tied to that specific strike price and that specific expiration date we talked about. It's a contract about a potential future transaction under very specific terms, not the immediate ownership like buying stock.
Okay, that distinction feels important. Owning the contract versus owning the actual shares.
Very important difference.
So we know what options are, the types, the components, how they differ from stocks, but maybe we should touch on why they even exist. What's the point?
The purpose. That really gets to the core reason options were developed in the first place.
Which was?
Fundamentally, it was about managing risk. That's the primary original purpose.
Managing risk. Okay, how does having a choice, like with an option, help manage risk compared to just holding stock?
Well, think about that put option example. Buying a put can protect you if you own a stock and you're worried about a price drop. It sets a floor price at which you can sell. That's risk management specifically. It's called hedging. Like buying insurance for your portfolio.
Okay, hedging makes sense, like insurance.
Exactly, but that's just one use. Because options offer this leverage and define risk-reward potential, they also get used for other things.
Like what?
Well, speculation is a big one. Traders might use options to bet on which direction they think a stock price is going to move, up or down. Because options can be cheaper than buying the stock outright, you can potentially control a larger position for less capital, though that comes with its own risks, of course.
Right, speculation sounds riskier than hedging.
It generally is, yes. And people also use options to generate income through various strategies. But look, these are more complex applications.
Things to explore maybe down the road.
Exactly. For today, the main thing is knowing they exist primarily as a tool for managing risk, even if they're used in other ways too. All those strategies build on this basic contract we've been discussing.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, if there's one single thing you want someone listening right now to really take away about what an options contract is, what would that be?
It's that word we keep coming back to, choice. An options contract gives the buyer a choice, not an obligation.
The right, but not the requirement.
Precisely. The right to buy or the right to sell a specific thing at a specific price within a specific time frame. But you don't have to if you don't want to.
And that idea, that's quite powerful when you think about it, isn't it? Compared to just buying stock where you're immediately committed at the current price.
It is. It introduces a whole different dimension to trading and investing.
So maybe final thought for you listening. How does understanding this fundamental difference, having the choice tied to a specific price and time versus the immediate commitment of buying stock, how does that start to change how you might think about market opportunities or managing your own investments?
Yeah, that's a great question to ponder. Now that you grasp this basic agreement, this right, without the obligation, what possibilities does that open up in your mind? Can you think of scenarios where having that choice, that flexibility to act or not act at a predetermined price, might be really, really useful?
Definitely something to mull over.
Yeah.
And look, this understanding, what we've talked about today, it really is just the first step. It's the foundation.
It is. But it's the essential foundation.
Absolutely. From here, there's a whole world of option strategies and concepts to explore if you're interested. And the resources over at advancedautotrades.com are always there to help guide that journey.
We hope this has cleared up the core concept for you.
Yeah, thanks for walking through the absolute basics with us today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay ahead with fresh insights every other day, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or follow our podcast. We've got more exciting content coming your way, and we can't wait to have you back. See you soon.